Welcome back, friends. You are tuning in to Nail the Numbers GAB Lab, and we are here for segment 2 of the Rural Resistance for Restaurateurs episode and series with Ron Robichaud. And we're stepping into our second segment right now, which is how to hold the line through COVID. So Ron, let's pick up where we left off. We've got restaurateurs now that are familiar with best practices and things they can do once we kind of get through this COVID pandemic. But as we're moving through right now, what are some of the suggestions that you have to create efficiencies within the business as we're experiencing COVID?
Well, the one thing that we've realized, and with the statistics that have come out from all COVID research, is that health is a very big concern to a lot of people. So building confidence to your customers coming into your restaurant, safety and security, it seems to be very high on the list. So, and it's not necessarily just COVID here. And I think these are practices that we can do after COVID, but not necessarily maybe wearing masks and personal, protection. But at the same time is that right now it's very important to show customers that they can be confident to come into your store or your restaurant and be safe and have security as well. So there's a few things that we have to look at. There's mask and personal PPE, personal protection, is that we have to also show customers that we are acting in your best interest by adhering to those rules and regulations, and we're trying to protect you as much as protect ourselves. So wearing masks and personal protection is important. The second thing is that you want to have people to have as much or as less contact as possible. So one of the things that people are doing is they're using innovative menus. If you know the QR code, so all they have is on the table is a QR code, and you can just take your phone and you can just take a picture of it, then the whole menu will come to you. So you don't have to touch anything on the table. And so that's a way especially that you can keep your patrons safe. The other thing is that you need to keep your distance. So make sure that you adhere to those 6 feet. I mean, you can speak to people, you can communicate with people, but adhere distances, because people get a little bit anxious if, just go to any grocery store right now, and if there's somebody right on your shoulder, you're going to be a little bit nervous. So the same thing will happen in your restaurants. Keep people safe, keep your distance between, especially the wait staff and the patrons, but also between tables and that. So again, making sure that you're adhering to those to continue to gain the confidence of your customers. You also want to look at, the staff screening and training. You want to make sure that your staff is taking this seriously, because you never know which customer is going to come into the door. Some may not take it seriously. Some people think it's still a hoax, but it's very important to a lot of people. And the people that will patronize your restaurant will be the ones that are willing to pay, but they want to make sure that they're going to be there in confidence and security and in safety. Keep it clean. Show people that you're always cleaning after them. Yeah. To give you an example, there was one sign at this one restaurant. He says, "We clean the doorknob after every person that comes in." 10 people came in, not one person went and cleaned the doorknob. So it's a mixed message. So if you're going to say something or do something, make sure you do it, because there you lose all the confidence again. So if that's not being done, what else is not being done? Yeah. And so the only last thing I want to touch on that is that contact tracing. Is that it's when you're doing contact tracing, simply is that you're providing your name and just a phone number. You don't need their emails or anything like that. Just in case, in the unfortunate event that a COVID, we would have a COVID situation in our business, that we're able to contact you. We want to make sure that you're safe, so I think those are the sort of the 6 points when we talk about safety and security that businesses should adhere to, and some of those practices should go on even after COVID.
Beautiful. I think that, what's brilliant too about the contact tracing, I was just at an event the other day where it was a drive-in movie through a business organization, and it just showed the level of professionalism, right? And how they were treating everybody's health as being, priority number one, which really, to me, helped to build brand loyalty. and position them outside of what their typical service offering is, with a very strong brand, a brand of compassion and really about putting the customer first.
Beautiful, wonderful.
A question for you. There's been so much, I'm not going to say controversy over masks, but, you know, some people are getting a rate. We don't even, you know, there's different parts of the world where masks are treated differently. What is your thought on, I've come back from Alberta, and going into any retail establishment, including restaurants, the patron had to go in with a mask. And then as you were sitting down to the sitting down to the table, this is when you could take the mask off. Do you have any thoughts on the actual customer and what, and I guess it would depend on policies and rules and regulations, but any thoughts on the expectation of the customer and maybe how to actually train team members on how to deal with expectations that aren't being met of customers in a way that, you know, protects the rest of the patrons as well?
Well, you know, and again, as an owner of a business in the past, and you know, having dealt with a lot of sort of controversial things when people come in, people have a choice. So, you know, if you're going to have rules and regulations in your business, you're trying to protect the majority of your customers. And I'm not sure if this is what you're alluding to, but some people just refuse to wear a mask. And so you have a choice as an owner. I would not allow a person in, and it's not because I'm being disrespectful. It's just that I need to protect. They have a choice. They can either come in or not come in. I don't have a choice. As a business owner, I have to adhere to the rules, but not only that, protect all my other customers. So, you know, I would simply, you know, ask that person, either they wear a mask or, you know, please come back another time where masks are not going to be mandatory.
Perfect. I think you nailed it there, Ron. I think it's about the choice that people have. And to that point, just making your policy very clear, right? Making it clear online if people are looking for hours, making it clear on the windows, making it clear on the, you know, at the hostess desk. Like, these are our policies. And I think for most people, it just gives them a sense of assuredness that, just like you said, safety and security is mission number one right now. And our goal is to protect our staff and our patrons. And so if we're talking about staff, right, and just efficiencies with staff and team members, what are some of the best practices, or sorry, the ways that we can create efficiencies through COVID with respect to our team?
Well, with COVID, there is the wage subsidy program, which is actually extended right now. So I would certainly, you know, owners should take advantage of that. But don't just keep staff for the sake of keeping staff on. I think you got to look at, you know, if you're just going to be doing takeout now, you don't need wait staff. You may need one person to make sure preparation and these type of things. So you really need to look at your staff complement and what are the necessary what's the necessary work that needs to be done, and only keep what's necessary. And so you want to maximize the efficiency. So if you have a kitchen and you have some cooks or chefs or whatever, depending on the type of restaurant that you have, is that there are many things to keep them busy. You know, there's always that food preparation that needs to be done, because right now with COVID, I mean, restaurants are only allowed to take in 50% of what they could before. So their seating capacity is much lower. But, you know, if you look at it just doing takeout, well, now you don't have all these tables to clean and washrooms to clean, and, you know, you don't need to wait staff in that. So you got to look at your staff complement, make sure you're using them to the best of the ability. Just bring them in when you need them. But, you know, you don't want to shortchange them, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're providing all the services you can to your customers. So it's really about maximizing that. Again, we've gone as far as suggested to some people, use your facility like your kitchen and your kitchen staff to prepare foods, maybe in order to sell them in another modality. By that, I mean, you can prepare something and get it ready for sale. So you could actually freeze it. If you're selling pizzas, as an example, we've got people that are making pizzas and they're freezing them. So now they're in a freezer at the door where people come in so they can buy ready to just have to reheat, or they're half cooked or whatever. And that way they don't pay the HST, or they don't pay the tax on it. So they're saving on the tax. And usually they'll charge $1 or $2 less because they don't have to cater to the customer at their table. So now they don't have to wait staff. So they're still maintaining their cost in line with the best in sector performers, but they're maximizing the efficiency of staff that they have. So not overdoing it. If your numbers go down, then your staff should go down.
Well, and I think this, Ron, comes back to, our first segment where you were talking about the performance scorecard, and the numbers as percentages always still need to line up. So to your point, if your revenue is dropping, then still your operating expenses still need to stay at that 60%. And in my experience, this can be the toughest part for the business owners, to have these hard conversations with people. Right? The numbers aren't fun, but having the conversations with people. So I think we've had this conversation before, and you had some really good ideas on potentially how to facilitate some of these conversations with your staff, making it kind of a group dynamic, right? And just saying, here's what we need to do in this business. What are your suggestions? What are your ideas? How can we contribute to the solutions together?
It's even more important now to have communication with your staff. You have some key staff that you really don't want to lose, but I think you need to keep them abreast of what's going on, what the situation is. You want to be able to keep them for the long run, not just the short run. So your business has to be profitable even in the short run. So one thing to keep in mind is that, let's say that let's look at it this way. Let's say you're paying somebody 40 hours a week. I'm using that as an example. Now you've got reduced, volume of business and that. So what if you had to reduce it to 35 hours a week? So now you're saving 5 hours on 40, right? Instead of paying them 40 hours, you're paying them 35. So 5 divided by 40 is exactly 12.5%. You're going to save 12.5% on labor costs if you just do that. That probably guarantees their job a little bit longer. Yes, it's a few less hours a week, but listen, it's probably better than the alternative, which is no hours at all and 50% on EI. So, and I know there's the CERB, but that's only going to last a certain amount of time. Yeah, I think we need to look at the long run for businesses. They've got to really, they got to protect their employees, but you also have to sit down and really have that conversation, making sure everybody understands and they're doing their part.
Super smart, super smart. So I think the other thing that potentially we can explore here is that one option obviously is cutting down on hours, but then business owners can also look for ways to get more creative in the kitchen, right? Which might protect some of those hours, specifically as we look at menu items. And to your point, and I know we're going to be talking about this more in the quick fire round, different things that business owners can do, ideas, but like you said, the frozen meals, getting those prepared, getting those packaged, the grab bags, getting into catering, takeout meals all together, right? So just different things to explore there. What are some of the other things in terms of efficiencies with menu? Because I know that you've got some really great ideas with respect to how to potentially save some money in this midst of supplier chain issues and all these different things that we're going through right now.
Well, a lot of restaurants, they try to cater to everybody. So when you look at the menu, they may have 25 or 30 different menu items. This is not the time to try and satisfy all the customers. Pick the top 5, 10 most popular items on your menu, downsize your menu, and serve those. With those that you've identified, make sure that you know what exactly your cost is and what your margin is, so that you're just really selling the high margin stuff. This is not the time to be selling items that are just on the menu in order to satisfy a few, but there's not much margin in it. This is not the time to do that. So under COVID is look at your menu, downsize it. The other thing that's going to happen there is that now you're going to reduce the amount of inventory. You don't have to have inventory for 25 different menu items. Now you only need inventory for 5 to 10 menu items, which you can do very efficiently. You can get it out very quickly, and then your turnover is going to be much quicker. So you reduce your inventory, you reduce your menu items, you focus on the high margin areas, and you pump a lot of that out.
And can we talk a little bit about those, maybe potentially revamping some of those menu items so that you're not using the high margin ingredient in it, right? So it's still kind of looks and sounds like the same menu suggestion, but now you're using a different cut of meat, or, you know, a different fish. Any suggestions there, or any examples that come to mind, or stories?
Well, again, there's a lot I think what we need to keep in mind is that people are still going to be accustomed to the quality and the taste of how you are preparing your food. So I know I wouldn't necessarily change too much, but
Okay.
I think that I would make sure that I am, again, if you have a reduced menu, but you're having just as much volume, or more volume because you're only selling a certain menu, you're going to get some cost savings by ordering more and getting more discount by volume. Now, you can substitute some things, but again, I would as long as it's a very close substitution, that's fine. But this is also an opportunity for you to look for new suppliers. You know, so it's an opportunity to do your homework, because there are people out there that are in the same boat as you are, and they're trying to move product out the door. So you may be able to find a new supplier with even higher quality products at a lower price. So I think you always have to be doing your due diligence, have conversations with your suppliers.
That's so smart, Ron, because I know you've mentioned this in other boot camps, right? To even have the call to say, we'd like to negotiate a new rate, right? And you save 1 to 2%, and that goes right to your bottom line, right? And to your point in the first segment, if you think in percentages, instead of that dollar value all the time, this is where really the pennies start to add up. And
So
restaurants,
one
yeah.
example is, you brought up the point, but one example, I had one business owner, which, you know, again, I asked him, just call the supplier. Well, he says, I've never done that before. Well, just give him a call. What is he going to say? Just no? So anyway, so he called and he says, you know, I've been with you for a long time. You know, I've been supporting you. I've been buying most of my products from you. Is there any chance I could get a 1% discount on my orders? The guy says, nobody's ever asked me that before, but sure, I'll give you. I don't want to lose you as a customer. You're a good customer to me. So he gave him 1%, but he says, I'll tell you what. He says, if you pay within 10 days, I'll give you an extra 2%. So now he just cut his food cost by 3%. So, you know, like, every percentage count. Take care of the pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves.
I love it. I love it. And this is a penny industry, people. This is the restaurant business. This is where you have to count every single penny. So I just wanted to insert here, just so everybody knows, Ron, again, is very generously been giving us some worksheets. And to this point, the menu costing is a worksheet from the last segment. So go in, right? That direct cost, we're looking for 30%. Go in, download that worksheet, take a peek at it. And then there's also a worksheet on limiting menu items and maximizing margin. So this is more, it's not Excel, it's just to get you taking a look at your existing menu, and to Ron's point, which ones would be your top sellers? How can we start to eliminate those higher priced or high price margin items and end up with your cream that rises to the top? So
just one point though, people need to realize that if there's any shipping that they have to pay for products coming in, also all the condiments, the paper products, the takeout, all of that has to be in your 30%. It's not 30% just food costs. It's 30% with everything included. Your sugar, your salt, your pepper, your ketchup, everything. It's got to be included in there.
So all the consumables, but not the labor, correct?
That's right. That's
yeah,
correct.
Okay. And you know, one thing I see everybody miss on this is your merchant fee and transaction fee. So that can be 2.6%, right? And that gets attached to that actual transaction. So don't forget that one. All right, let's gear up right now for takeout. So, you know, this I think is a no-brainer. I think a lot of restaurateurs are probably already looking at this, the curbside, the takeout. What are your thoughts on this, on different practices they can implement through COVID?
So again, those restaurants that had to close and didn't really reopen very quickly is simply because they were not geared for takeout. But those restaurants that I know of that actually were simply just sit-down restaurants, and they started looking at a takeout option, curbside pickup, even delivery at home, have flourished. And so we've seen a very big difference. So instead of just closing your doors and sort of putting your hands up and giving up, they've just looked at what are the things that we can do with our business. We already have a facility, we have some labor, we know how to produce things. How can we get it to customers? And so this gearing up for takeout is just a mindset. And one of the things that, you got to keep in mind, again, the mindset of gaining confidence with your customers is that if you're going to do takeout, make sure that there's a clear pad going in and a clear pad going out. Don't use the same door, because what's happening in some of the restaurants where people are meeting each other going in and out loses all the confidence in COVID. So because of the pandemic. So where people are confident, they go in one door, pick up their order and leave through another door. The confidence is high that they have safety and security. Those are the restaurants that are really doing well. The ones that are not geared up for that, I've seen a lot of people stop frequenting those restaurants, and right now they're actually closed because they weren't able to gear up properly for that takeout and curbside pickup and home delivery.
Wow. And the home delivery, it seems like this is kind of this, we're in this era right now where we've got Skip the Dishes and Uber Eats, and we lose a little bit of control in that at-home delivery piece, don't we? Or do you think that I guess it's just checking in with that delivery service to ensuring what their protocols are, because once the food leaves your establishment, then they've got it, they bring it to the customer, and then your brand is, you've lost control at that point. So any tips on that? I know I'm throwing that at you, but.
Well, no, it's the same thing. You have to have reassurance with every service provider that's working in your business. So are they all adhering to the rules and regulations? And even are they going over and above? I mean, you don't have to follow the minimum rules and regulations. Why don't you go a step above, so you're proving to people that you are taking the necessary steps in order to protect your customers. So I think it's a very valid point, Taunya, that we need to really make sure that, not only that, but we need to also follow up with our customers. There's also that sort of customer satisfaction. Now is an even more important time to keep in communication with our customers, because we're not seeing them face to face a lot of times. So maybe, it's not a bad thing to even call them up or a text or whatever and say, how was the product? Was there anything, did you receive it in good order? Are you confident that it was well handled? Those type of things. Why not do that? I mean, yes, that's where you're going to build your confidence.
That's brilliant, Ron. I think that's a great point to end on. You just go above and beyond, right, to demonstrate that commitment that you have to your customer and create those raving fans out of them, so that they can start to share this externally, right, social media and through their networks as well. Okay, so big takeaways from this one, Ron. Thank you. So holding the line, safety and security, number one, of your patrons, of your staff. Team efficiencies. So yes, potentially a reduction in hours, but also maximizing their time when they're there. There should be no downtime, right, for the team that you have. Limiting your menu items, maximizing your margins was your third point, and then gearing up for taking out and making sure that even those third parties are doing what they need to do, and that you're doing the follow-up. So again, where to reach you if you want to connect with Ron, please check out his email. We're going to have that in the show notes. As always, reach out to your friendly neighborhood community futurists. The team at Sunrise is there to support you in business. Just, they are the front line right now, the triage of the business emergencies that we're seeing in the country. So grateful for their support. And as always, stay brave, stay bold, stay unabashedly profitable through COVID, and nail those numbers. We'll see you for the next segment, which is our quick fire segment, just different ideas to create top line revenue for you and your restaurant business through COVID. We'll see you in a bit.